Hey everyone, I'm Manero here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to draw a psychedelic illustration with stippling and patterns in Procreate. So let's jump right into it. In order to achieve this, I'm going to be using my dynamic stippling and patterns brush set for Procreate. You can find it along with a free mini version for you to try out on my Gumroad page through the link in the top right corner of this video or in the description below. The size of my canvas is going to be 11 by 8.5 inches at 300 dpi. First of all, I'm going to be importing a couple of paper textures from my paper collection, and this will give my illustration a more traditional feel. First, I'm importing the texture called Bamboo Zen paper, and in a second you'll see that I set this layer to multiply mode. The other texture will be the one called Noir paper 2, and I'll set this layer to lighter color mode. This will make my line work look like it was made with actual ink on real paper. Below these two layers is where I'm going to be drawing everything. Using the brush named Rustic Inker, I'm going to be sketching the general idea I want to draw. All I knew is that I wanted to make this psychedelic scene that could come from some kind of unconscious dream where nothing really makes much sense. So I started by drawing a version of myself from imagination and using that as the central element of the piece. I decided to cut the top of the head, place that aside, and I drew a door in it. I also had the interior of the head show some staircases. Then I drew some kind of bubbles coming out of one of my ears, and I filled the sky with more bubbles of different sizes. I drew a mini figure standing in front of my head, looking up, and then I added a straight path below the figure in direction to the base of my neck. I kept improvising other elements, like this arch and a cube in the left side, some mountains in the distance, an eye with a teardrop floating in the sky, a pencil, and more mini figures hanging out in different places. Then I added a book, a brush, and I thought I had everything I needed before doing the final inking. I alpha locked the sketch layer and colored the lines blue so that I could differentiate them better from my new line work. I lowered the opacity of the layer as well. I switched to the splattering curve brush, and I started inking on a new layer. My main goal during this part was to define what my final lines would look like. For this I used my sketch as a mere guide, and I allowed myself to change things a little if I felt like it. I also tried to be as clean as possible, and I switched between the drawing and the eraser tools as needed to refine my lines and shapes. When all my lines were finished, I then started to add the stippling and pattern elements as I saw fit. For example, I used the selection tool in automatic mode to quickly select the hair parts of both pieces of the head, and then using the medium stippling brush, I gave them this nice shading. I also selected the sky, and I made this sort of gradient that is more dense at the top and lighter at the bottom using the fine stippling brush. For the ground, I painted the whole canvas using the dynamic pattern number 37 included in this set, and then I used the transform tool to make the texture match the perspective in the floor. Then I erased the parts that shouldn't be visible where other objects are placed on top of the ground. Inside the path area, I used the selection tool to select the parts just below the neck, the minifigure and the book. And then I used the dynamic pattern 27 brush to add this cool wavy texture. I selected these paint puddles and I used the medium stippling and the stipple grain 1 brushes to add some stippling textures to them. With the randomized dots 1 brush, I added stippling to the bubbles in the sky, being careful to follow their rounded volume. For some of the bubbles, I switched to the heavy stippling brush. This allowed for some nice contrast, so that not all the bubbles looked the same. Here I selected only one side of the mountains, and I textured them using the dynamic pattern 17 brush. Notice that the dynamic pattern brushes in this set paint their textures thicker and more dense, the more pressure you apply, so I used that to my advantage to paint the different textures exactly how I liked. For the sides of these geometric shapes, I used the floral texture from the dynamic pattern 63 brush. Then I continued to add more stippling to the book, and the different little human figures, the big head, and the remaining elements of the illustration. I decided to add some color to my drawing, and for this I simply used some limited colors I thought looked nice. And I used the medium stippling brush to add some texture by painting some transitions between the different colors here and there. And this is the final result. I really hope you liked this video. If you use my brushes and post your art on social media, feel free to use the hashtag Manero Brushes so that I can see what you create. I will be extremely happy to share your creations with my audience. Don't forget to subscribe for more art related videos and give me a thumbs up. Also, make sure to check out my Gumroad page, where you will find the dynamic stippling and patterns brush set for Procreate, and many other sets and freebies that I have available. I'm sure something will suit your artistic needs. All the links are in the description below. Okay, thank you for watching. See you next time.